Murray on the court when I be shooting, ain't no missing. Man, this lil' hoe begging for a perk, I think this lil' hoe itching. Ain't no baby passing 19, watch how Glockies get they kicking. I'm with gang.
What's up, y'all? Shiesty Nell up in this joint. Today we will be reacting to 12 insane facts you didn't know about Boyz in the Hood, the old school movie back in 1991. Every black family has dang near seen this movie. If you haven't, you just Gen Alpha or some nonsense. But yeah, let's just get into it. Let's see.
We got a problem here? We got a problem, nigga?
We had one night where there ain't no fight, nobody
Oh
gets
yeah,
shot.
the American dude.
In 1991, a 23-year-old film student turned down $100,000 just so he wouldn't have to give up his own script. When Boyz in the Hood was being filmed, real-life gang members showed up right on set, not to act, but to serve as advisors. And when the film premiered, it didn't just shock audiences on screen. On opening night alone, 2 people were killed and more than 30 were injured across the United States.
Over a movie?
This is not just a controversial movie. This is what really happened behind Boyz in the Hood. Watch until the end of the video.
Nobody
I have
needs
a
to be
reward for
dying
you.
behind a movie, though.
Number 12. The film was based on the director's childhood. Do you remember this scene? Furious Styles, expressionless, pointing a gun at the intruder.
Oh,
2
yeah.
shots fired, no hesitation. Only one thing is clear. He will protect his son at all costs.
He ain't
But
playing
that scene wasn't included just to idealize Trey's father. It was part of director John Singleton's real-life memory when he was just 12 years old. What's remarkable is that Boyz in the Hood feels like flipping through the pages of Singleton's childhood diary from the 1980s. It was when his mother sent him to live with his father in South Central. Every day filled with a constant sense of tension, in a place where violence and gunshots echoed on every corner. That 1991 setting explains the mother-son relationship in the Baker family, when Mrs. Baker placed all her hopes on Ricky and almost gave up on Doughboy. It reflects a reality very similar to Singleton's own life. Parents are forced to bet everything on the child who has a chance, while the other is gradually left behind. And from that point on, every tragedy in the film is no longer a shock, but an outcome that was already foretold. That's exactly what John Singleton wanted to bring to the audience. The feeling of helplessness as you watch a cycle of circumstances repeat itself, generation after generation. Number 11. Singleton never warned when the gunshots would go off. You're back on Crenshaw Boulevard 30 years ago. Suddenly, gunshots explode. The pale face and panicked eyes of Cuba Gooding Jr. still stay with me. Even Morris Chestnut panicked, ran, and fell right as Doughboy's car sped past. His leg was only inches away from the tire. The screams, the heavy breathing, the fear, everything was real, because none of them had been warned about the gunshots, not even Cuba Gooding Jr. or Morris Chestnut. Singleton wanted authenticity, the raw, natural reactions of the actors, because to him, the audience can believe a story when that fear is real. Number 10.
So look, how would y'all feel if y'all was on set, right, to do this Hood movie, and y'all on the block? They got a scene where y'all supposed to be on the block. Then out of nowhere, you hear shots. You think that joint real. Whole time, manager hit you up. Hey, we set that up. We just want an authentic reaction. I ain't gonna lie, I'm quitting, cause that's dang near a setup. Cause if y'all can do that without letting us know, what else can you do without letting us know? Lace our drinks with some fentanyl? Oh nah, we want an authentic reaction. Nah, nigga, nah, nigga, you ain't about to do me like that.
Real gang members became advisors for the film. Because everything had to be real, John Singleton didn't choose artificial sets. He didn't Hollywoodize anything. He used the actual streets of South Central in 1991, with kids playing in front of their homes. But overhead, helicopters hovered, and in the distance, police sirens wailed. And to make that even clearer, Singleton invited people who'd been involved in real gangs, the Bloods and the Crips, to act as advisors. They corrected the smallest details. That outfit is wrong, the hat has to tilt the other way, the way you stand in a group, the way you look at each other before something goes down. Those things are not in the script, not in any acting textbook. They only exist in real life. And that's what made Boyz in the Hood. Like a moment, captured before it disappeared. Number 9. Opening night left 2 dead and more than 30 injured across 12 states. On July 12, 1991, Boyz in the Hood premiered in 829 theaters across the United States. Amid the cheers of the film crew were the desperate cries of the audience. People ran in panic. This was not a publicity stunt. Rival gangs had come to watch a story about their own lives. The line between film and reality vanished. Gunfire erupted in place of taunts. Violence broke out nationwide. In a suburb of Chicago, a 23-year-old security guard was shot dead after leaving the theater. In Universal City, 5 people were shot inside an 18-screen complex. All showings had to be canceled. In Akron, a 16-year-old teenager was shot outside a theater. Across 12 states, at least 2 people were killed and more than 30 were injured. Singleton was truly stunned when the very film made to talk about violence became consumed by the very thing it was warning about. But Singleton firmly defended the film, standing before the press, not avoiding anything. "I did not create the conditions that make people shoot each other." He did not apologize because to him, the film was not the cause.
I ain't gonna lie,
Number
I feel him
8,
though.
the role of Doughboy was
That's like saying, okay, I make a song called Suburban Killer, right? And then that shit do it like 300 mil. Now, out of nowhere, 40,000 suburban kids just start killing each other, right? That's not my fault, nigga. I ain't tell them niggas go kill each other. Them niggas decided to listen to the song and do that dumb shit I said in the song. But it's like, it still kind of influenced them to do it. Because they were like, oh, this is cool. But they didn't see the bigger picture of it because obviously they chicks. You feel me? Obviously they just dumbass 16-year-olds with guns that want to shoot they shit. That had nothing to do with the movie or my song. You feel me? I'm not saying I actually made a song called Suburban Killer. Just an example. But it's like, they can't blame that nigga for all that murder that happened. Yeah, the movie probably made niggas be like, man, let's go spin on them niggas right now. But it's like, they was gonna do that shit regardless if the movie dropped or didn't. So it's like, I can't do that shit. That's kind of lame as hell, I ain't gonna lie.
It was written specifically for Ice Cube. In that alley in 1991, Doughboy quietly sat next to Trey, talking about a world where death had become far too familiar.
Either they don't know, don't show, or don't care about what's going on in the hood.
Nah, they just don't care.
What's striking is that such an unforgettable character like Doughboy was played by a rapper. That was Ice Cube. In fact, John Singleton wrote Doughboy from the very beginning based on Ice Cube's real-life image. His music, his attitude, that raw street presence that cannot be learned. When Ice Cube was 22, he tried to get NWA onto a show. At the time, Singleton was an intern on the Arsenio Hall show. They talked and connected. His first audition, he could only remember a few lines, almost a disaster. Singleton still kept him because he believed something very simple. Only Ice Cube can be Doughboy. After the second audition, everything became magical. Singleton saw a star being born. The studio didn't even know Ice Cube was part of NWA, but that didn't matter. He was Doughboy. Number 7, Chris, Reg Green, was truly paralyzed in real life. Do you remember Lil Chris? The boy sitting in a wheelchair, his gaze hardened as if he'd already grown used to pain? He didn't need to act out those paralyzed legs because he was living that very life in reality. Reg Green was shot at the age of 6, used as a human shield in a conflict. The bullet hit his spine, leaving him permanently paralyzed from the waist down. Just hours later, his father died from a drug overdose. Despite losing the ability to walk and losing his father on the same day, he still stood up in his own way. By the age of 13, he'd become a professional actor. The wheelchair you see in the film is not a prop. It's the one he uses every day. Singleton didn't choose an actor to play the role, he brought reality straight onto the screen. Number 6, Singleton was offered $100,000 to give up directing the film. If you were offered $100,000 to give up your own creation, would you accept it? In 1990, John Singleton had to face that very question. At the age of 22, he had a child called Summer of '84, the original title of Boyz in the Hood. The script depicted the raw reality of violence and race in South Central Los Angeles, based on his own life, his friends, and his neighborhood. In 1989, Columbia Pictures immediately wanted to buy it, $100,000 in cash. In exchange, Singleton had to give up the director's chair. They would hand the film to someone more experienced. But Singleton didn't write this story for someone else to tell. He refused, declaring, "No way, I will not let someone from Idaho or Encino direct a film about South Central Los Angeles. They can come here, cast actors, read the script, but they'll never understand what gives this story its soul." Number 5, 2 key scenes were inspired by Stand By Me. When I rewatch the opening scene, I still get chills. Kids barely over 10 years old quietly deciding to go see a dead body in broad daylight. I'm sure you felt the same. Even the final scene, watching Doughboy's figure fade away step by step until he disappears, I cried at that moment.
Nah, that joke
These
broke
two
my heart, I
iconic
ain't
scenes
gonna
were
lie.
borrowed by John Singleton from Stand By Me, a coming-of-age film from the 1980s,
That broke my
but
heart.
not
Doughboy
copied.
disappeared
He
and
transformed
got
them into
killed.
something entirely different, where curiosity about dead bodies is a normal part of growing up in that environment, and Doughboy's disappearance carries not nostalgia, but a cold premonition of fate. These changes prove that Singleton deeply understood the core of coming-of-age stories. In South Central, filled with gunfire, kids still revolve around the same things: friendship, death, and the moment you realize childhood is over. Number 4. Helicopters and gunfire ruin the sound.
Sad.
Above, rotor blades spun steadily, their noise drowning everything else out, and sometimes gunshots echoed in the distance. All of it came from the very neighborhood where Boyz n the Hood was filmed, and that's when John Singleton had to accept one thing: the film's sound had been compromised from the very moment filming began. Many lines were distorted, forcing actors to return to the studio for ADR, sitting in front of a screen, watching their own emotions again, and trying to re-deliver each line in sync. Faces gradually changed because it was almost impossible to recreate the original feeling. But what matters is that he still chose to stay in South Central, because filming in a quieter, safer place might have made the movie cleaner, but it would have lost the most important thing: the real atmosphere, the kind you don't hear clearly, but always feel in every frame. Number 3, Cuba Gooding Jr. and Morris Chestnut were cast simply because they arrived first. Two young men in their 20s, almost unknown, yet they were cast within minutes. In reality, Cuba Gooding Jr. and Morris Chestnut
Nah, I
were the
seen that
first to
dude-
walk into the room.
I see
They
that
didn't
dude
have
on
to
the
do
left
anything
in multiple
complicated.
movies. I
Just
don't know.
stand there. And
Maybe
Singleton
this is
chose
his
them
first one, I don't know,
immediately.
but I seen him
He
in
wasn't
multiple
looking
movies.
at acting.
He was
He just
radio
needed
at
to
one
see
point.
the real kids of South Central, and that was enough. But Lawrence Fishburne was different. He'd known Singleton for years. They met when Singleton was an unknown assistant on the set of Pee-wee's Playhouse. As promised, he gave him the script. 5 years later, Fishburne returned, becoming Furious Styles, a father only 7 years older than Cuba Gooding Jr. And Brandy was born for Nia Long. She carried the spirit of South Central into every glance. Singleton
Ow.
didn't choose the best actors, he chose people who had lived that story. Everyone brought truth because Singleton demanded it, and that choice shaped lives that felt raw, real, and haunting, so much so that viewers no longer felt they were watching a movie. Number 2,
Yeah, I
the
ain't
plan
gonna
to
lie,
bring
the acting was
NWA
good on this
together
one.
collapsed. John Singleton once wanted members of NWA to appear in the film as Doughboy's crew. He wanted the whole group to be there to amplify authenticity to the extreme. It made perfect sense. They had the look, the attitude, and the raw realness no actor could match. But there was one major problem. Ice Cube had left NWA in 1989 due to serious financial disputes. The conflict escalated quickly. Both sides publicly dissed each other through music, from Cube's Death Certificate to NWA's 100 Miles and Runnin' and their final album, E Phil for Zaggin'. When filming began, bringing them together was almost impossible. Singleton had to change plans and recast the entire crew around Ice Cube. Still, he didn't forget to get back in a subtle way. In the infamous chain-snatching scene, the beaten thief wears a t-shirt with Eazy-E on it. An inside joke only those in the know would fully understand. The plan to reunite NWA collapsed. None of them appeared, but their shadow still loomed over the film. Number 1, Singleton became the youngest director and the first
They
black
out there
filmmaker
dissing each other
nominated
in
for an
movies.
Oscar.
This is crazy.
At the 1992 Academy Awards, John Singleton made history. At just 24 years old, he received 2 major Oscar nominations: Best Director,
Let's
Best
go.
Original Screenplay. He became the first African American in history to be nominated for Best Director, and also the youngest ever to receive that nomination.
Stop
With a
playing with
modest
him.
budget of just $6.5 million, Boyz n the Hood achieved a box office miracle in the U.S., grossing
much?
over $57.5 million. In 2002, the U.S. Library of Congress officially added the film to the National Film Registry for its enduring cultural, historical, and artistic value. Even though Singleton didn't win the Oscar, that nomination changed everything. It proved that stories from the Hood deserve to shine.
No cap.
Bonus, a warning that forced the crew to change locations. When Boyz n the Hood was preparing to film Doughboy's revenge scene at a burger stand, the location was right next to the jungle, Bloods territory. Word spread that the film was portraying the Bloods as weak. One person didn't accept that. He found producer Steve Nicolaitis and said bluntly, a 14-year-old kid trying to make a name for himself could shoot Ice Cube from behind. He said he wouldn't be responsible if someone actually shot Cube for disrespecting the gang. It was a specific warning. It didn't matter that he was an actor. Just appearing in that role was enough. John Singleton wanted to keep the original setting. He didn't like changing things. But this time, the crew had no choice. The location had to change. No incident happened, but it was a wake-up call. In South Central, film and reality are never separate. Boyz in the Hood doesn't try to tell a story. It simply shows you a cycle. Trey is just over 20 years old with a chance to leave South Central. A different choice, a different path. Ricky also had a chance, a scholarship, a future. But in a single moment, everything ended. Doughboy is 23. No dreams, no way out, only the streets, and an ending that was already written. One leaves, one falls, only one remains. Leave a comment with the movie you want me to uncover the truth about.
Hey man, what a good movie. I ain't gonna lie, Boyz in the Hood was a good movie. My first time watching it was with my grandma though. I'm not gonna lie, it's crazy, right? I was in 11th grade. I was in 11th or 10th grade when I first time watched Boyz in the Hood. And I watched it with my grandma. And I ain't gonna lie, I was like, oh, that's where that scene came from. 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 And the whole Ricky, like I was like, bro, that's where that came from. I was just learning so much, being educated. But nah, that movie really was a good movie for real. It really just shows you like the dark sides of life that people don't want to really pay attention to. It shows something people usually never see for real. I feel like when that movie came out, a lot of people were like, dang, this is what's going on? Because they don't see nothing about that on the news for real. But nowadays, you would see something like that on the news. If someone got clapped, you'd be like, it'll say, shooting happened over here, woo. But it wasn't like that back in the day, apparently. But if y'all like the video, click the like button, comment some more videos, and watch your face.
Feel like Curry on the court when I be shooting, ain't no missing. Man, that little hoe begging for a perk, I think this little hoe itching. Ain't no baby past the 19, watch how Glockies get they kicking. I'm with